So today I'm going to review a brand new rack made by a company called Benton.
Whew, she's heavy.
And this particular rack is called the Shifts and Grins. What a great name for a bike rack. Super fun. Now this particular one is the 4-bike rack that I'm putting on my Hitch right now, but it splits into a 2-bike rack. Now you can buy this in either a 2 or a 4-bike setup, all depending on the number of bikes that you need to haul. Now, before we dive into this, I do want to let you know that eTrailer.com did send me this bike rack to do a review on. So if you guys want to pick up your very own Shifts and Grin bike rack after this review, definitely check out my link down below to eTrailer.com.
Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and let's grab the hitch pin and let's test it out, see if it goes all the way through. So something that's really nice about this rack is that it has this adjustable quick stop. So once you get this set up for your vehicle, and you basically have it set to where it's the right depth for the little bolt to go through, you can set this, and then every time you go to put this bike rack on, it'll be easy. You just push it all the way in and you'll know it's at the right depth. Now, quick note about this hitch pin. It is a proprietary hitch pin, and it's gonna have a flat side right here that will only go in one way. Nice part about this is that it doesn't spin whenever you're trying to put on this nut right here. There is no lock for this. I do wish that they had a lock with it provided. I need to check out their website to see if they offer one that they sell, because it would be nice to have a locking hitch pin, especially since this is proprietary. That means to me that you wouldn't be able to find a lock that would fit this naturally. So if they don't sell one on their website, that could be a pretty big downfall in my opinion. But I do like the design of this hitch pin, being that it is basically flat-sided so it won't spin when it's inside the hitch. And then you thread this on, and then once you've got that threaded on, you then have a little cotter pin that you will slide right into this hole right here. Let's go ahead and install this on the vehicle. And while we do that, it does come with this little wrench so you can tighten down the nut on this hitch pin. Okay, now that we got the 4-bike rack on here, you can disassemble this to make it the 2-bike rack by just simply removing this pin, undoing this thread, and then the whole unit will actually pop off. That's one of the nice things about this particular rack is it's super easy to switch between a 2-bike and a 4-bike setup, and it feels really pretty stable overall. I do wish that they had a little bit better pin system built into this. It's not my favorite overall, but in the end, it's gonna stay on the hitch perfectly fine and go down the road safely with your bikes. Let's go ahead and put this pin back in since we're gonna leave the 4-bike on. And then we can go ahead and hit this button here, and this will lower it down. I really like the solid conformation clicks that you get out of this rack. There's also a safety pin over here that will prevent the rack from going all the way forward, because as you guys saw, this thing can be stored flat against the wall, meaning that it can fold completely back on itself. You wouldn't want this folding back on itself in the upright position into your truck bed or into your, say, car or SUV. That would not be good. So there is a safety pin right here that prevents that from actually happening. Now, each tray on here can hold up to 55 pounds. So for most of your e-bikes out there, like EMTBs, e-gravel bikes, e-road bikes, you shouldn't have any issues with this rack whatsoever. However, if you do have, say, fat tire e-bikes or maybe some off-brand e-bikes, those are gonna get upwards of like 65 to 100 pounds. This rack really isn't specifically designed for those particular bikes. This rack, I would say, is more designed around, say, standard analog style bikes. So your mountain bikes, gravel bikes, road bikes, but with more modern e-mountain bikes or e-gravel bikes or even e-road bikes, even though those bikes do typically push upwards of 45 to 55 pounds, they should be just fine on this particular rack. So with that said, just make sure that you guys have the proper bike for this bike rack before you order it, making sure that your bike is around 55 pounds or less. And you also want to make sure that you check out your wheelbase on your bike, because this rack can hold a maximum of 48 inches on the wheelbase. And as far as tire size, this can handle anywhere all the way up to 4-inch wide tires. Now, one other quick note before we load up some bikes and take this down the road, this does have a limited lifetime warranty on this rack. So one of the big benefits of buying a Benton rack is that they do offer that really big warranty on their rack. So if you do have any trouble, Benton should be able to help you out in resolving it or possibly even shipping you a brand new part. Now, the shifts and Grin does come in, like I said, a 2-bike rack or a 4-bike rack, but they also have one called a little shift, and that one is going to be a single bike rack. So if you don't need to have a whole bunch of bikes on your vehicle and you want just a super lightweight one, you may want to check out their little shifts single bike rack. That one comes in at $199, so a really good price for a single bike rack. Where the shifts and Grin 2-bike rack comes in right around $375, and if you want the 4-bike rack like this one, it's right around $600. When it comes to storage of the Benton rack, this is one of the coolest features. I've never seen this on any bike rack that I've reviewed, and I've reviewed quite a few, is the ability to actually fold it back on itself. As you can see, the hitch portion is back here and the rack portion is right here. And it allows itself to be able to fold all the way back. So you can fold it back, so whenever you store it, it'll store flush against the wall. Normally you can't do this because you have the hitch part that will stick out, but on this Benton rack, they give you the option to be able to store this thing flat by bending that hitch portion all the way back vertical with the actual bike rack. By far, one of the coolest features I have seen on any bike rack for storage. Now, when it comes to loading up your bikes for the very first time, it will take a little bit to get this kind of dialed in because these wheel holders, they do slide back and forth. So you are gonna have to get it set up to your specific bike. But if you continue to load your same bikes in the same order, you shouldn't have to adjust this at all after the fact. But if you do have to adjust it, it's real easy. They just have the thumb screws down here, and then these will slide back and forth just like this. So in order to get this loaded up, we're gonna go ahead and just release these straps right here. Then you've got a top tube hook right here. We'll go ahead and tilt this up. And of course, this is a little bit easier with the 2-bike rack because you don't have such a big area to go around, but the 4-bike rack, you have the convenience of being able to store a lot of bikes. So we'll go ahead and get this one set up here. Just undo those straps. Now we're ready to put our bike on. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this all the way back so we have full access to get the bike on there. And I recommend anytime you're putting your mountain bikes on here, just lower the seat post. That way you don't have to worry about it interfering with any of the other handlebars while you load up your other bikes. Now, my recommendation, go ahead and put the strap on the wheels here. And then we will adjust these a little bit better once we've got this kind of balanced. This is a little bit easier if you have another person, but not unmanageable. We'll go ahead and raise this up, get this over the seat. Hold that. We'll come up here and get this strap, and then we'll pull this forward and tighten it down. I do really like the upper coating on the arms up here. It looks kind of like a plasti dip, so it's not gonna rip or tear. Sometimes they put foam on there, and over the years those can tear. This bike rack looks like one that you could probably keep on the back of your vehicle pretty much all year round. So I like to see stuff like that. Looks like that's holding it really well. Let's go ahead. Let's just extend these all the way out because my next one is going to be a mountain bike also, and get this one prepped and ready for the next bike. Okay, and with your next bike, you're going to want to have the handlebars on the opposite side of the first one that you loaded up. Just lift her up there. Put it in just like that. Take our arm. Raise it up. That locked into place really well. There's 2 bikes on there. They're held on really well. No worry about them touching each other. As you can see, the reason why I wanted you guys to lower your seat post down, there can be interference on mountain bikes with the handlebars coming right over the seat. So if you don't have a dropper post, you may have to lower down one of your seats before you can install the next one. So just take note of that. the handlebars will more than likely overlap on mountain bike style bikes. Now you can take these all the way off if you need to get around one of your bikes. Now I am running into some interference problems here with the front bike versus this bike. So I may have to just reorganize how I'm gonna structure these. But yeah, I do have a little bit of interference problems with the handlebars up top there. Let me show you guys. So as you can see, these handlebars, they are interfering with each other with the front bike, or the bike that's all the way that I loaded first, to the third bike. So that is something to consider. You wouldn't experience this with gravel bikes or road bikes. I'm just gonna have to readjust how these bikes are loaded and see if I can get them to fully fit on there. Okay, so after playing with this for a little bit, I'm not gonna be able to put 3 mountain bikes on here of this particular size. I'm gonna have to kind of shift them around a little bit, mix and match, and see which bikes work better with each other. But this Intense 951 and the Polygon T9, having the handlebars go in the exact same direction, it's just not gonna work. It'd almost be a little bit better if the 4-bike rack actually sat up just slightly higher, maybe like an inch. If there was like a block that they could put under this and add some longer screws, that would probably help with this situation, raising it up where they wouldn't interfere. But being on the exact same height, it's just not gonna work with these particular bikes without them touching. Now, a simple solution would be to just get a 4 and 5 millimeter Allen key, quickly loosen my brake and quickly loosen my shifter and tilt that up, and then I'd be good to go. But it is interfering with the brake and the shifter on this Intense bike. So in order to solve this, I'm gonna just simply switch this bike with my gravel bike that I wanted to load on here, and then we'll load the Intense on the very end over here. All right, so I've got my Primos Dame here. I'm gonna go ahead and load this up in place of the Intense. This has obviously a much shorter wheelbase, so I need to make some adjustments real quick. Doesn't appear to be any interference issues. Okay, there we go. 4 bikes on this bike rack. It is a little bit of a tight squeeze, especially with mountain bikes, but overall, this did work out, and it worked out relatively well. You may have to adjust your seats, your seat posts, all depending on your style of your bike. With mountain bikes, they have dropper posts built in, so it's super easy to kind of get those out of the way. With gravel bikes, that's not really a thing all that much. It is a little bit here and there, but it's not very common. And then with road bikes, I don't think they put dropper posts on road bikes, but we're ready to go ahead and take this down the road and see how it handles. So far, I'm pretty impressed with this. It's one of those bike racks that if you're switching between bikes a lot and they're all different sizes, it may not be the one for you. But if you have a set of bikes that you use all the time, and you can dial this in and you can put the bikes in very specific positions every single time, then I think this rack is gonna be really nice. I do like the way it holds everything, and it feels really, really secure. We're just gonna see how it goes down the road, if there's a lot of bounce, a lot of sway, a lot of wobble. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's hook up some cameras to this and take it down the road. All right, let's go ahead and hit up the road. First off, getting out of the Bike Barn's lean-to. It's kind of the gravel test. It is moving a decent amount, but it's definitely holding onto the bikes really well. There's gonna be a little bit of bounce to this just because the hitch pin doesn't tighten down quite as much as some of the other racks that I've used, but it looks pretty stable so far. Super, super gloomy out, so hopefully the footage looks fairly decent. We're just gonna take this on my standard route for testing out bike racks. Just some backcountry roads here that have basically asphalt roads that have dips in them and potholes and all that stuff. I'm not noticing a lot of movement on it. 4 bikes is a lot of bikes on a hitch rack for sure. We're doing about 40 right now. Pick it up a little bit faster pace. Get about 45, 50 on this road. There's a few bumps down here that we're gonna wind up going over that should really put this bike rack to the test. I really do like the wheel holders on this bike rack. that just lock onto those wheels. You know the wheels are not going to move at all in transport. All right, coming up here, we do have a couple of good bumps that we're going to be hitting at relatively high speeds, about 40 to 45 miles an hour. Let's see how it does. And these are also why we're turning. Ooh, got some movement there, but it restabilized. There's definitely some movement, but that's to be expected amongst some bike racks, especially these 4-bike racks. It's a long bike rack. Now, if you are going to load e-bikes on this bike rack, I would highly recommend that you, of course, load your heaviest bikes closest towards the vehicle, and then your lighter bikes on the outside, just to reduce some of that weight. The bike rack is completely capable of holding 55 pounds per rack, and I don't think you should see any issues with malfunctions or anything like that, because I mean, we're talking about heavy duty steel. This stuff is really, really heavy duty and meant for this kind of abuse that you would put it through with having up to 55-pound bikes on it. Here's these bumps. Let's see how it handles them. Going about 35. Oh, it did really good. Not too bad. No, just don't go 100 miles an hour over like speed bumps or potholes on any bike rack. But the Benton bike rack is doing really, really well.
One other thing I wanted to show you guys is that this has the ability to tilt down. So if you want to fold down your tailgate or open up your hatch, you can do that whenever this is tilted fully down. But overall, I think this Benton bike rack, the Shifts and Grins, is an absolute excellent bike rack. For the price, I don't think you're going to find another bike rack that is this beefy, coming in right around $599 for the 4-bike rack, and it being this stable and this beefed up. I think it's actually a really good deal. So if your bike meets all the qualifications as far as weight, as far as the wheelbase, I highly recommend that you jump over to etrailers.com with my link down below and pick yourself up either a 2-bike or a 4-bike Benton bike rack, the Shifts and Grins. All right, I want to thank etrailer.com for sending this out for review. If you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. It's totally free. Hit the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think of this particular bike rack. And also, if you guys want to be part of this channel even more, jump over to my Patreon, Mike's Unlocked Garage. Over there, you're going to get early releases, some behind the scenes footage, and occasionally I drop some photos and additional videos along the way. But guys, I want to thank you for watching this, and as always, get out there and ride your bike.
I got you, yeah, SOS, thought you was a threat. I do real life, do no tip and tat on the